What is up, good people? It's your man Tony Wiggins here with another edition of Locked On Jaguars on a Friday as the team has gone across the Atlantic to face the Miami Dolphins. Must-win game for Jacksonville before these narratives start becoming something that team does not want to hear. I'm going to tell you what I mean by that, wins or losses, and what it matters and how this team is perceived moving forward. And I'll do it in just a second here on the Friday edition of Locked On Jaguars.
Locked On Jags, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, good folks? Thank you for joining Locked On Jaguars, making us your first listen of the day. We really appreciate you, and we are grateful to be your first listen, and a reminder to you that we are free on all platforms. What do I have for you today? All right, so I'm going to divide this up into threes, as I always do. I'm going to start off by giving you an overview of exactly what I'm talking about in just a second. And then I'm going to tell you what if the Jaguars win going into the bye week and what it means, and then what if they lose. And then we're going to put a little how do they win or how do they lose to even take that a step further. Now, without much more suspense, let's just jump right into it. All right? They have a golden opportunity by playing the Miami Dolphins in London this weekend. One is because they're probably a little more used to traveling than most teams because the Jaguars basically invented and started this let's play a game in London deal. But Miami's been there 5 times, right? Both teams are a little bit inexperienced. So when Urban Meyer took a little hiatus and said we all needed to get away from it, I think sometimes if he'd said things differently, it would have been perceived differently. Like maybe if we break the monotony, that is practice and let's just do something different since we're not winning, people would have been more understanding. So this is just that. This can almost be like a team building exercise, if you will, by taking guys on a transatlantic flight over to another city in another stadium and allowing them to do some bonding, right? The bonding that sometimes is necessary for these gladiators to know that, hey, man, let's just stick together. We ain't got nothing else to do, right? They have a chance to beat Miami because, first of all, Tua Tagovailoa, who's supposed to be coming back, he's missed a few weeks. He's not quite in rhythm, and he wasn't really in rhythm with the team before he got hurt. The Jaguars will play a team whose best player on offense is probably a rookie in Jalen Waddle, a very good rookie, just like Jamar Chase was very good, but still a little bit different. They haven't had that much success right now in Miami. The offensive line for the Dolphins is also trying to find its way. So therefore, the defense can take advantage. The Dolphins aren't a very good running team. So the Jaguars can pretty much know that Miami's going to RPO and RPO and RPO, run pass option. So that's one side of the ball where there's optimism. The other side of the ball where there's optimism is the Dolphins can't stop the run. According to, I talked to Kyle Krabs, grinding the tape. Kyle Krabs from Locked On Dolphins, and I said, how do you stop him in our crossover edition? He goes, run the ball. That's their Achilles, run the ball. Well, the Jaguars have proven that they can run the ball. Now, here's the question: will they commit to running the ball? That is the biggest key. Because it seems like sometimes the Jaguars want to win, but more importantly than winning, they want to win the way that they want to win, and winning is all that matters. So don't worry about the way. And there is a little bit of something that we need to discuss. Trevor Lawrence is a generational talent at quarterback, like most people said and most people believe, and I believe that, right? So when you get that kind of guy, it would seem like the wrong thing to do would be to take the ball out of his hands. If we look at the run as taking the ball out of his hands, you'd be correct. That would be the wrong thing to do. However, there's a way that you can look at the run and not think you're actually taking the ball out of Trevor's hands. What you're doing is you're setting him up. That's the way you have to look at it. You have to view the run as a way to set things up. Say you're setting the table for the chef to operate. That's the way that the run has to be viewed when you're trying to set things up and make things easier for Trevor Lawrence. So when you look at it like that, and you start making people be more honest and you start making guys stay home, then play action starts to work. And then guys have these windows, and now you got this talented quarterback fitting the ball into those windows. So they have to watch and make sure that they don't outsmart themselves and be able to stick to the run. And the way that they view the run, they have to view the run as setting the table for their quarterback, as opposed to taking the ball out of the quarterback's hands. Now, the Dolphins have two very expensive corners, right? Xavier Howard and the Jones kid that they signed from Dallas a couple of years ago in free agency. I wouldn't try to make a living beating those guys, because that's usually when you'll get in trouble. I would attack the middle of the field. I would use the secondary wide receiver and your newly acquired tight end that you just got. By the way, all those people that have been hitting me up this morning saying Zach Ertz got traded to Arizona and we gave up too much for, our guy Howard, it's done. Or Dan Arnold. We gave up all that for Dan Arnold. And now Arizona has Zach Ertz. Two different teams, two different situations. I like Dan Arnold. I still thought this team could use C.J. Henderson, but that's water under the bridge. It's not even no here nor there. So please stop hitting me up telling me about Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz wasn't coming to Jacksonville. So, but anyway, run the ball. Go to your secondary wide receivers. Don't avoid those corners. Test them a little bit, but don't think you're going to make a living, because the Jaguars receivers haven't made a living on anybody. So you're not just going to go up against a couple of guys, there's Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, and think that you're going to eat up those guys when you haven't eaten up other people all season. But they have a chance. They really do have a chance. They have an absolute, and I'm not talking about the chance that everyone has when they suit up. I'm talking about a legitimate shot. The Miami Dolphins, to me, are nothing to be afraid of. And I would have never said that coming into the season, but I have just not been very impressed by them. Now, here's what we're going to talk about today on the show. We talked about the opportunities they have and how they could win. Let's talk about what happens in the second segment. We're going to talk about what happens if they win heading into a bye week. And I don't think you guys care how they win, because in segment 3, we're going to talk about what if they lose. And we're going to actually talk about if they lose a certain way and what that means for you guys in your thought process and the way that you view the rest of this season. We're going to get into all that, man, and we're going to do it here on a Friday. Segment 2 is on the way. We're going to talk about the hypothetical, the Jaguars winning this game, and what it means to you going into the bye week, and we'll do it in just a second after I tell you guys about BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. Now, listen to me. Last night was off the chain, man, because the Bucs were favored by 6.5 over the Eagles. The Eagles get to 28-20, and instead of just kicking the extra point, they go for 2 and they make it. So it's 28-22. Boom. Tampa doesn't score anymore. That's the final. That half a point absolutely made a difference. So if you don't think people in Vegas know what they're doing, you're crazy. And betting against people in Vegas without doing your research on BetOnline is like you going to court without an attorney. You're going to get crushed, right? So head to the website and use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. And don't forget to use our promo code, which is Locked On. And they have all the information that you need that could have helped those people last night avoid that pitfall of getting that bad beat put on their forehead. So from football, basketball, boxing, right down to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season at BetOnline, which is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. The promo code is Locked On to receive your 50% welcome bonus. Go to BetOnline where the game starts. All right, man, so we're going to roll along here on a Friday, and I didn't want to give the bad news first, so I'll say let's just assume the hypothetical now is that the Jaguars will win the game in Wembley Stadium this Sunday against Miami. And I'm sure you guys won't care if it's a blowout. You guys won't care if it's by a field goal. You won't care if it's by a 2-point conversion. You won't care if the Dolphins are down 1 and they try to go for 2 and you stall the only thing you as a Jaguar fan would be concerned about is that heading into a bye, your team won and they snapped a 20-game losing streak. That's it. They figured it out and they found a way to taste success, and that they get to go off into a break of a week one where they actually should be getting away from it, one where they actually should be taking a few days off for them and themselves and their family, and maybe going and hanging out in an eating place or something like that and being drugged to the dance floor. But that's a whole nother story. But they would have earned it, and at least they get a chance to actually go and enjoy themselves with a win. Don't have a bad taste in their mouth. Give their fans some hope and optimism that what you've seen over the last 3 weeks early in the season was not a aberration, and it wasn't just some figment of your imagination. It was actually something tangible. They were actually building on something, and it crescendoed into them finally figuring out how to win a game against an NFL team. It's contagious. You start getting wins up under your belt, and it starts to feel real good, and it starts to get contagious. So we're not going to even examine how they win. You just want the win. You want the victory if you're a Jaguar. If you're a player, if you're a coach, it's just a good feeling to have, knowing that is going to be the last impression that anyone has of this team for the last couple of weeks, especially now that a lot of attention is off of Urban Meyer, and the attention is on John Gruden and other people with emails, and the league not releasing emails, and guys letting people proofread their work and all. So all of that stuff that was just hovering and permeating over this franchise is gone for right now. And what the Jaguars have a golden opportunity to do is actually go out here and win a football game. They can actually win a football game, even though it won't be at home in front of the home team. It will be a game that everyone's going to be watching bright and early with their breakfast and their coffee. Nothing better to do than to get a win right now and let that sit on the minds of people for the next 2 weeks. It's like the jury going home. I love making court. Y'all can tell I watch a lot of court. It's like the jury going home for the weekend. The last statement that they hear, let's end on that and let them think about that all weekend. So you want the statement, if you're a Jaguar, to be a good statement. It'll end the streak. It'll give fans something optimistic to cheer about. It'll make them feel like those close losses or those losses that you had in games early this year that you won actually did mean something, because it was just a tough thing that you had to go through in order to get to the winning and to learn how to win. And then you can come back with a fresh week with a victory on your mind, a victory on your resume, and then you can start prepping for what you have left for the rest of the season. And the optimism goes up, and the optimism goes back through the roof. Now, if they do that, here's how they're going to do it. I told you what I think they can do to win. I think in hindsight, this would be the scenario. They got James Robinson involved early. And then they had a lot of mixing and matching with James Robinson and some precise throws by Trevor Lawrence to the Dan Howards of the world and to the Marvin Jones of the world. And then some timely scrambles from Trevor Lawrence, and they actually get up and score some points. And then they actually kick their first field goal of the season. So let's just say the Jaguars go up at the half 13-7. Come out in the second half and take the second half kickoff and go right down the field, score a touchdown, and now they're up 20-7. Then we can see Joe Cullen work his magic, right? So Joe Cullen will have worked his magic and gotten the Jaguars an actual turnover in Dolphins territory. Let's just say that we get 3 out of it. It's 23-7. And the Dolphins don't know where to go. Now the Jaguars, they're hyped. They feel like they're going to win. Eventually they get the ball back, another methodical drive down the field, and they kick yet another field goal and go up 26-7 heading into the fourth quarter. Now we really feel it. We keep running James Robinson. He's feeling it. And all of a sudden, fake to James Robinson, reverse out, play action pass, bingo, down the field of Laviska Shenault for a touchdown. 30-7 Jaguars. Miami scores another 10 points to try to end the game or get back into the game and make it respectable. How about 30-17 Jacksonville? There you go. I just gave you a complete play-by-play on if they win, and you guys are going into the bye week extremely, extremely happy, right? Now we got to get to the other side of it. And this is the side that I wanted to avoid. What if they lose? And then what if they lose ugly? And then what if they lose and you see more of the same mistakes and the lack of details, the lack of understanding situational football, and the Jaguars lose? I don't care if they get blown out or if they barely lose. here comes the problem. And I'm going to tell you what that problem is and what it could be. And some would say this is the most likely scenario. I'm going to give it to you in the third and final segment here on a Friday on Locked On Jaguars. After I tell you about Built Bar, cheer up, man. I know I just, I made you feel down, letting you know that something bad might be about to be put in your ear, but you can put something good in your mouth right now if you have Built Bars in your pantry, because I got a pantry full of them and I absolutely love them. I got 9 great flavors, 100% covered in chocolate, between 17 and 18 grams of protein. The calories are low, 130 to 180, and only 4 or 5 grams of sugar and net carbs. I love Built Bar, and I love that salted caramel. It is my favorite one. But I ain't gonna lie to you, now that raspberry, I've been on it, and I've had that orange and that cookies and cream, and all of them are very, very good. Now you can experience this same delightful, great protein bar. That's the best I've ever had in my lifetime by going to built.com and using the promo code LOCKED15, and you're going to get 15% off of your order. That's right. It's built.com, and the promo code is LOCKED15 for 15% off your next order of Built Bar. Get on it, man. If you're working out, good. You can have Built Bar. They're good for you. If you're not working out, you should be, but that's okay. You can still eat Built Bar, and you're going to still enjoy it and love it. So it's Built Bar at built.com. Promo code is LOCK15 to get 15% off your next order. All right, man. So we're going to keep rolling along here on a Friday. I gave you guys a scenario, and the scenario is that if the Jaguars win, they'll be 1-4. They'll be going into a bye. Everybody will be happy. You'll tick off a lot of Dolphins fans that are in Jacksonville. And for at least for that day, we won't seem like the worst and most putrid franchise in the NFL. Plus, that ugly little streak that's going on, that 20-game losing streak, will be gone. However, there's another scenario, and here it is. I'm going to give it to you. This scenario is that they lose, regardless of how they lose. But it could be different based on how they lose. If they just get flat out blown out, you're going to have people calling for Urban Meyer's job. If they just get flat out dusted from start to finish, there are going to be folks in Jacksonville saying he ain't it. And I'm telling you, I've heard that already. He ain't it. He ain't it. And they're just going to go into the bye week like, man, they just got mollywop, man. So what are we going to do? And folks are going to start thinking about the draft. You're going to start seeing Thibodeau tweets and that big old defensive lineman from the Georgia Bulldogs. And you're going to start hearing about Cortland Sutton in free agency and all of these wide receivers, these number one guys that can make them better. But that's going to be tainted because you ain't going to know who the front office is. I mean, going out and getting guys like that and giving them the same people that's running this team right now, if they end up being as bad as some of us think it's heading, well, that's just a disaster in and of itself. And then, do people want to play here? With all of the stuff that's always going around, have we gotten to the point where we've gotten over the fact that this wasn't a destination place? So all of a sudden, folks trying to make it a destination place, and now folks making it a destination place that people come when they get drunk. And we can't do that. Let's think about it this way. If they lose a close game, it's almost the same thing, but here's where it slightly changes. Where it slightly changes is if they lose a game the way that they've been losing them, and you could honestly look and say, the players aren't that bad. The coaches are just screwing them and not putting them in a good situation. See, if they get blown out, they look like the team just stinks. But if they lose a game and you can look at it the way most people have looked at the last 2 or 3 games, and they've said, those guys played hard enough and they played good enough to win. They were just put in bad positions. See, now if that happens again, if that's what people are saying again, now you get to this point. They got to go. What are we doing with him? He's not giving the players a fair shake. The team has talent. They just, like, for instance, if they lose and they don't give James Robinson the ball enough, that's going to look like they're doing the players a disservice. So we're not going to be mad. We don't think this whole thing needs to be blown up. We just need to get a competent coach. We need to get competent assistants. that'll help these guys, that'll put these guys in a better position to win and not be the reason why the team is losing. Yeah. Head scratch. It's possible that that's what can happen, but depending on how you lose. So losing in and of itself is a bad thing. But you think if they lose another close game where they're fighting and they're fighting and fighting, well, that might go good for that. That won't be good either. It's imperative that they win, because even if they lose and they lose, if it's possible to say this, if they lose in a quote unquote good way, folks are going to still attach this to the last 2 or 3 games and go, that's 2 or 3 straight games that they could have won, and they can't do it because of them, not the players. So it's almost like losing means you got to pick your poison, man. And that's why we're in this situation right now. Hit me on Twitter at ShopTalkingWig and tell me. I'm going to use this hashtag. Hashtag doesn't matter. That if the Jaguars win, lose, or lose ugly, doesn't matter, and explain to me why. And I'll interact with you. And I'll even talk next Monday because it's a bye week. So next Monday or Tuesday, when I do a fan day, I'll read all of your hashtag doesn't matter. I'll read them all. And I'll put your name on it. I promise you. Something else you need to do, man, you make the Locked On Jaguars podcast your first listen every day. I appreciate it, and you would appreciate this if you made the Peacock and Williamson show your second listen. The Peacock and Williamson podcast is Brian Peacock, who's an NFL analyst, and Matt Williamson, who's a former NFL scout. They give it to you like you can't get it anywhere else, man. I listen all the time, and I learn, so I know that you guys would really, really enjoy that. Hashtag doesn't matter. If the Jags win, lose, or win ugly. And at what point do you start to change and start thinking about Kayvon Thibodeau? Is it now, or do they still have a chance? Whatever happens this Sunday goes a long way towards how you guys feel about the bye week, because it's going to happen Sunday morning. The game's all going to already be over, and then you're going to get a plethora of other games that you're going to enjoy while you're cooking your wings and drinking your brewskis. And what's going to happen is when you start seeing 2 teams that look really, really competent after seeing your team who, if they don't look competent, you're really, really, really going to have a lot to think about all week. It's week 5, and this is the conversation that we're having. Do me a favor. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on YouTube. Also, follow that podcast. Tell all your friends about it. It's your first listen every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We appreciate you. I want you guys to take care of each other, and I'll do the same. And I will see you Monday, win, lose, or tie. And I'll explain everything, what happened. If there's any breaking news, I'll give it to you over the weekend as well. Thank you for joining us on the Locked On Podcast Network and here on Locked On Jaguars, where you make us your first listen. We do appreciate you. Take care. Bye.